everyone and welcome to the Wednesday video. Today we are covering r/IncelTear, not IncelTears, because I think someone got access that wasn't supposed to and shut down the subreddit, so now it's IncelTear. We're going to be covering a couple of different posts. I'm not sure how well this is gonna work, so let me know what you think down in the comments down below, and let's jump right into it. I want Foids dead. I hate them so much. I don't even leave my house anymore because whenever I see them, I have to control every single muscle in my body and take a deep breath to calm myself. Otherwise, I would run towards them and rape them and beat them in the middle of the street, broad daylight. I don't care if I get killed or beaten. Death is a freedom for me. And I would die doing the thing I deserve and crave the most, sex. That's the only thing that is still keeping me on. I don't even like porn anymore because watching it feels cucked. It doesn't get me horny, only angry, because it shows a hot, beautiful void that I will never have. I recently read ER's entire manifesto and the epilogue, where he says that his ideal society would be one free of women through their total extermination. Really stuck with me. That's what these things deserve for bringing us so much pain. Here's what I don't understand. You would say that you deserve sex and you want sex, and of course this post, I found it on IncelTear, but it came from r/Virgin. But it's like you say you deserve sex and you feel this entitlement so much that you have to physically resist raping women in public. But you want them all dead. And Elliot Rodger, I'm not even going to go touch that manifesto with a 10-foot pole. Unfortunately, Mumkey Jones was taken off YouTube, and it's too bad because he did so many videos going in depth. One of his videos, he had it I think it was a 2 or 3 video series, where he went through Elliot Rodger's entire manifesto, and it showed issues with levels of entitlement and narcissism, and I think something unresolved. Well, clearly something unresolved, given that he killed his 2 roommates. In his mental ability. And clearly entitlement and narcissism were big factors in that, but there was something else going on because he seemed almost prone to magical thinking. It says to me something was off. You guys talk about, this is fairly par for the course. There's so much hatred and anger towards women. Why would any woman want to date you? Why would any woman want to fuck you if you hate them so much? You realize that you are your own worst enemy in this. They don't, but this and none of the ones that I chose today cover this. It's not something I like to broach to. I actually had to take a break from IncelTear, the IncelTear subreddit, for a couple of years, because at one point I was really deep into it. This is when there was still incel.me, which I don't think is around anymore. I think that was taken off the server. But and I was doing, because I remember posts from 2 years. This was in 2019, and I remember there being just post after post after post of these grown men talking about adopting little girls to keep as sex slaves. And there were ones that claimed that they had kidnapped an 8-year-old and were raping her. And it was this is bad, but it was even worse then. And I, along with many others, reported some of these people to the FBI. And it was this whole big thing. And after a while of seeing so many of this, I took a long break from IncelTear because I just could not handle it anymore. This is a little bit more, I hesitate to say palatable for me, but it's easier for me to manage because this is just, what it is it's aimless anger. It's directed towards women, but it's not any particular woman, and I don't think that this person is, I feel like this person is still very much in the fantasy stage of wherever they are with their anger. And I wish a lot of these people would realize that focusing so much on sex as your ultimate goal in life, basically, is a disservice to you. It's a disservice to who you are as a person. I understand that you feel like you are being cheated out of something in life, but the vast majority of like the millennial generation and later is having sex later. There's a greater prevalence of people just not interested. I think a good portion of people are very much in survival mode at this point, and when you're in survival mode, sex isn't at the top of your list. And so to focus so much on one gender to the point where you clearly feel violently towards them, I don't know what makes you think that any woman would want to sleep with you if you're like this. I mean, really. You're perfect the way you are. Body positivity. You're gonna die alone, Mr. 5'8". So, this is a false equivalency. Like, I cover plenty of fat logic and body positivity content, but the primary focus of body positivity is you deserve respect and basic human decency regardless of scars that you have, and you deserve self-acceptance regardless of scars that you have or your weight. There's a big difference between you're perfect the way you are and then this one, which is more relationship focused. This one, even the way it's written for their meme, is about self-acceptance, not about... And there are plenty of fat logic people that say they deserve that. I mean, almost follow the incel rhetoric of they deserve attention from people sexually because not finding fat people attractive is fatphobic or whatever. There is that aspect that is like incel-y a bit, but these two are not at like equivalent comparisons. And there's plenty of people that are 5'8" that have partners. Like, chances are your biggest issue is not your height. Although I understand that there's plenty of people that can be shallow about your height. Your biggest issue is probably that you are an asshole and disrespectful to women. Should I femboy max to get bitches, or is that gay? Should I femboy max to get bitches? I was thinking that since I'm short, skinny, and have a relatively feminine face, that I should consider it. Basically, to grow out my hair, dye it, wear makeup, dye my nails, and shit. I think you mean paint your nails. Would that actually have any effect, or will I just become a F-slur? Please, no bully. I think trying to do anything strictly to get attention is ultimately going to have diminishing returns. I was like every 14-year-old and had a not like other girls phase, and it did not provide the results that I was seeking. I wanted to be viewed as special, and I just wasn't. You clearly want to be viewed as desirable, and if you like the femboy look, there are plenty of women that love femboys. There are. I actually quite like the femboy aesthetic myself, but doesn't mean you're guaranteed to get laid. And presenting yourself in an inauthentic way, if you're lucky, you may get laid, but then it'll, like, that relationship won't be sustainable, because if that's not who you are authentically, it's going to read as fake. And it will likely read as fake before you even get as far as sleeping with that person. But here's the thing. The big thing is fucking shower, because there's a bunch of incels that don't shower, and smell is a big, like, I may be asexual, but nothing will make women look down on you more, especially if you're hitting on her, than if you haven't bathed. Like, if you haven't bathed and you're just existing yourself, then chances are no one's going to pay attention to you. But if you haven't bathed, you're in dirty clothes, because this actually happened to me when I worked at a public library, where someone clearly unwashed and reeking of BO came up and hit on me while I was working. The answer will always be no. Granted, my no is just as much because I'm asexual as it was because of the eye-watering smell. But yeah, so, and for the record, that guy wish ill will towards. The guy that I do wish a little ill will towards was an older gentleman, also smelled not well kept, but waited in the parking lot for me after my shift. That was fucking scary. I didn't like him. And don't do that. Don't do that. Ever. Anyway. But yeah, so you can change your look if that's what you want to do, and if you feel that it more accurately represents you, then great. If it doesn't, don't go there. Figure out your own style. Figure out a clean signature style for yourself. And then frequent the areas where that style works. Chances are you'll catch someone's eye. But the biggest thing that will help you get laid is to have maybe not refer to women as bitches. Maybe show some general respect for women. Maybe be a genuinely good person. Just saying. So this mod here is from the subreddit r/antinatalism. I don't frequent that subreddit too often, but I do have sympathies towards their philosophy. I do, at this point, with how difficult it is to even survive in the vast majority of the world, I do think that it's a bit immoral to have children. Potentially controversial opinion. Don't read too much into it. It's not something that I'm gonna fight tooth and nail over. It's an opinion I have, but it's not one that feels so intrinsic to my personhood that I'm gonna argue it down into the ground. I mean, I'll argue for fun, but I'm not interested in getting into a big whole conversation about it in the comments. It's a personal opinion I have, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. But let's take a look at this. It's kind of sexist to sexualize someone you're trying to provide an intellectual criticism of. Of course, if this is your level of intellectual criticism, relying on low-effort buzzwords and cynical humor, then I guess you're more into trolling than trying to have a productive conversation. Unless you're playing the long con and seeing how much you can embody your own criticisms, in which case, well played. Yawn, I live to sexualize women. Only the attractive ones, though. I don't even bother if they are too fat or their faces look fucked. I can't count how many times the whole "you're sexist" card has been thrown at me. I think it's funny at this point. Can you offer anything useful to the discussion other than saying things are sexist? Oh, the same goes for misogyny, too. That one never gets old. If a feminist can engage in a more... So it just ends there. There's no continuation of that, and I have no idea where to find this one specifically, and it looks like it was about 10 months ago that it was posted, I guess. But if you are just sexualizing someone, and that is your basis of criticism, is to sexualize someone and then demean them and try to discredit them through that sexualization that you yourself have done, then you really are showing that you're a shitty arguer, that you're a shitty debater. And if you live to sexualize women, but only the attractive ones, and this is another common thing with the incels, is that they're if they're too fat or if their faces look fucked. Can't tell you how much I've seen incels say, I deserve sex, not with what they refer to as a land whale. And for them, land whale is anything over 130 pounds or something like that. They'll have these ridiculous standards that they expect to be able to get, despite the fact that many of them don't shower and don't take care of themselves. It's just, incels aren't really incels. If you go just by the most involuntary celibate, they're not involuntarily celibate because they have made it clear that they still have preferences that they insist on being met. At that point, it's not really involuntary celibacy. It's you have chosen celibacy because you can't get the sexual partner that you desire. That's fine. That's your prerogative. But then you have no right to be angry at the world for not having sex. If I were more of a sexual person, I know that I would likely be very attracted to highly fit individuals, very good looking men. I am not pretty enough for those men. I am not skinny enough for those men. And I recognize that. I recognize that were I more inclined towards sexual relationships and were I more inclined towards romantic relationships, that I would need to likely lower my standards of physically who I would find attractive. Probably would have to lower my standards for personality-wise, too, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I have been told by multiple people in my life that I set expectations too high for everyone, including myself. That's a matter of debate that I will get into at another time. Typically what I do is I have my expectations for myself, I lower my expectations for other people, and then I lower them accordingly based on what they could realistically achieve. And that sounds very authoritarian and very entitled in itself, and it's not something that I put a whole lot of effort into. I've really learned to just kind of, like, this is, given their personality, this is what I could reasonably expect of them based on our particular relationship dynamic. Like, I've learned to take in more variables of people and what expectations I can hold of people. But sometimes people still say my expectations of people are too high. So that's its own thing. That's my character flaw. But you have made it clear, yes, you're a sexist asshole, clearly, because you sexualize attractive women purely for their body, and yet, because he has misogynistic aspect to him, and I think he's a self-proclaimed incel. So if that's the case, then you're not involuntarily celibate, because if you were that desperate to have sex, having sex with a fat girl wouldn't be that big of a deal for you. Voids have different preferences, but some of them like skinny, feminine, K-pop ethnic men. Some of them like tall, muscular, masculine white men or feminine, baby-faced white men. Some of them like tall, muscular, masculine black men or feminine, baby-faced black men. When normies say not all women are attracted to masculine men, they are right, but they miss the important part. All of these have one thing in common. Voids like attractive men. Voids don't like incel men. I have never seen a void who prefers an incel-looking man. To be fair, that's kind of human nature. Like, the vast majority of incels that I've seen have some sort of standards themselves. They prefer blondes. Most of them prefer very good-looking women. Understandable. It's a matter of what you can get, though. So perhaps there's women that have shown an interest in you, but you thought they were too fat or too ugly, and you didn't count them. Because that's another thing that I've seen with plenty of incels. And it's just like, lower your expectations. Lower your expectations based on where you are. Because the truth is that like people are attracted to each other more often than not. There is a thing of opposites attract that doesn't typically play into for physical appearance, though. And not saying that it never happens, but most often people that are of equal attractiveness, oftentimes the woman's maybe a little bit higher, will get together. Typically. Now, I'm not going to pretend to know, dating rituals of the average person, because I don't fucking know, and it's not my thing. But to say that, voids like women like attractive men, and men like attractive women, this isn't some gotcha moment. This is pretty typical. Like, just saying, yes, women like attractive men. You, I guarantee, like attractive women. Question is, can you get attractive women? And if the answer is no, are you willing to date someone who is not your idealized attractive woman? And if the answer is no, then you need to get the fuck over yourself and work on because there's ways to bring up your attractiveness level. It doesn't mean that even your most idealized woman will ever find you attractive, though, because there's so many variables with attraction, personal preferences, there's compatibility of personalities, there's just a variety of things that can make someone attractive or unattractive. But if you're going based on first impressions, do you meet those attractive women? I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. That was r/IncelTear. Let me know what you thought of this video in the comments down below. Unfortunately, I weighed myself this morning, and it said I was still at 186, but like 2 nights ago, I was down to 185, and I was so fucking thrilled about it because I was officially out of the BMI obese category. It's a pound difference, so I'm thinking it's just kind of a natural fluctuation. And I'm not going to beat myself up about it because I've been staying pretty good on my plan. So that is what it is. It's fine. I'm not dissatisfied with it. And after, when I got really discouraged and I got all those really positive feedbacks, I really appreciate it. And it's really kind of helped ground me in the, I'm just going to continue working my plan. The weight is going to fluctuate. That's just kind of the natural process of weight loss. But eventually it will be a net lower each time. So quick few things, running update. Unfortunately, I'm dealing with a shin splint, and it hurts. So I am doing speed walking this week, not running, because my legs just can't handle it. And then for reading, I finished Kami-sama Kiss. Oh my god, the manga was fucking wonderful. Those last OVAs did not do it justice. It didn't cover Akira O's body and what happened with that, because that was brilliant in itself. Major spoilers here. If you don't want to hear it, skip 1 minute ahead. But the very, very end, in the final chapter, where Akira O is revealed to be reborn as a child, and he calls up Tomoe, and this guy that brutally murdered many people, was the scariest demon, was immortal, essentially, that all of the gods in Japan feared him and stuff. And he's calling up Tomoe, is now an 8-year-old because he was reborn into a human body and demands to be taken to Mousy Land, was the funniest fucking shit I've seen in a long time. That was so fucking awesome. But Kami-sama Kiss was amazing, and I really enjoyed it. I've nearly finished Devil's Line. I have about 3 volumes left. It's a 14-volume series. I have about 3 volumes left. Pretty good. Now, though, it's like separated into so many different story threads that when there's like, it feels like an abrupt shift each time that it's switching perspectives, that I'm having to take more breaks with it because the shifts are just too hard for my brain. It's not a natural flow into each other. Haven't made any real progress with Maid-sama, but I plan on reading more of it, and I haven't made any real progress with Snow White with the white hair or Assassination Classroom either. But I'm going to kind of progress through those. And I'm hoping once I finish Devil's Line and one of the other series, I want to finish one of the other series, then I'll start watching anime again. So that way, if I'm pulled into this is fantastic and I want to read the manga, like, it's not just this continual overload of series to read. And I think that's about all I have. No real fun stories today. Oh, I do want to say something, though. If you were ever a teenager with a sibling and argued repeatedly to where your mother, like, banished you both to your rooms because she just didn't want to hear it anymore, go apologize. Call her up. If you're nearby, visit her and apologize for arguing over stupid shit with your sibling. I cannot tell you how many arguments I have had to break up over people looking at each other or saying something slightly rude in a slightly rude way, or like just the fucking sheer amount. Oh my god, it's all the middle school kids, and it's not that I don't understand, because I was that way too, but my god, I cannot tell you how many times I have to apologize to my mother after having to deal with these kids so much, because it's so important to them, but it's oftentimes their arguments and what they're upset about is so small, or sometimes just downright stupid. Like, she's looking at me, so what? She's looking at you. Turn away. You who's looking at her, read your own shit. Do it. Go on your computer. Please, for the love of God, just stop fighting with each other over dumb shit. So if you have ever had a sibling annoyed the shit out of your parents, go apologize to them now because they deserve it. But with that, I'm going to leave it here. Let me know what you thought of this video in the comments down below, and I will see you next time.